Hey guys, today's video is a little bit different because today I am here with Jackdaw and Lambo. Say hello, guys.
Karlak.
Hello,
I'm sure
Kalak.
most Kornak. No, not already. Um, I'm sure most of you already know who they are, but Jack and Lambo both make awesome content, so go subscribe to them. The links will be in the description. But today we are here to have a nice chat about this little game called Baldur's Gate 3, or as Lambo would put it, Karlak.
Karlak Act 3.
Yeah, yeah. Um, the great thing is that this is the first time all three of us here are sitting down together to fully talk about the game. So while we'll be sharing our experiences with you guys, the people that are listening to this, we'll also be sharing our experience with the game for the first time with each other. So I'm just really excited to hear you guys' thoughts. Also, spoiler
Yes.
warning, we will be talking full spoiler, so if you haven't finished the game yet, it's probably not the best idea to listen to this. Unless you don't care about spoilers, then
We
welcome.
will be discussing the ending.
We oh definitely, yeah.
Oh yes,
That's for sure.
and Shadowheart.
And Shadowheart and Astarion.
And Karlak.
Yeah.
And Papa.
Oh yeah. Cannot forget him. I guess I'll just start off with asking you guys, what are your overall thoughts on the game?
Karlak.
Shadowheart.
Apart from
No,
apart from
brilliant.
Karlak, I need you to go into detail.
I
a bit more.
think genuinely, I think that Baldur's Gate 3 in a long, long time, even already claiming it, I think it's one of the best RPGs I've played ever, if not the best role-playing game. Just the amount of choice, consequences, the amount of times I saw my actions have an impact on this world, the characters, the customization, the story, like, oh my goodness.
I know.
Definitively, it is just one of the best RPGs I played in a long time, and that has even been playing as like not boring, but playing as a straight up, human cleric, Tempest cleric. Like
Mhm.
even that experience, which is kind of seen as generic, was so fun, and how I was able to curate that in my own specific way, and the amount of choice and consequences that were just picked up upon based on my character's origin, on my backstory, and then based on the choices and the consequences that I delved into further in the game. It's just so fun, and just the nuances of the things that you pick up alongside the quests, everything about it just definitively is the kind of game that we all want from games like Dragon Age, that kind of
Yeah.
experience that we want from looking at Bethesda games. Baldur's Gate just hit the nail on the head of everything I want from a video game and more. And also just what it means to the industry, what it's doing. Larian Studios are a AA studio, and what they have done with this, I know that we're not looking at it to compare it to other RPGs like Starfield because they're a different kind of ilk, but
Mhm.
just showing what Larian have done as a AA studio or any publisher, doing that all themselves. Even the kickstarting and the funding that they did for Divinity 2 and then doing early access of BG3, it's just shown itself as a critical RPG success across
Yeah.
the landscape. And that just makes me love it even more because it shows that you don't need things like crunch, publishers, heavy demands from publishers, and all these things that have gone on with Bethesda, with BioWare.
Yeah.
All these things Larian have just done perfectly. Now, hopefully, it stays that way for them going forward.
I think it
Because that's the
will.
point that BioWare were like that before they were published, they were taken on by EA. But yeah, currently so the entire package of BG3 is to me just a definitive RPG experience that I love every single part of.
Same. I 100% agree. I think
Absolutely.
Larian Studios will stay independent because Sven Vinke, the CEO, he has said that he's getting older, but he's definitely not done yet. So I don't think they'll be getting acquired anytime soon, thankfully, because I think
Absolutely.
that's been such a blessing for them that they've been able to do this all while being independent, really.
Yeah, and the fact that early access was such a success for them in terms
That too.
of hitting the right kind of financial demands that they needed is brilliant. I know at the time, like when early access came out in 2020, they hit so many like brilliant financial deadlines for that, and it was like one of the most sold games on on Steam at the time, something like that, or the most sold early access game. And so because they had that demand and that was facilitated, it was able to be such a success. But if that obviously didn't happen, then you can see where it would go down a different direction.
Mhm.
But just because of the entire vision of this game and the entire thing that it's trying to achieve, and the fact that it's resurrecting, the Baldur's Gate franchise, which has been gone for what, 20 years, 25 years since
Yeah.
BioWare and Black Isle Studios created the second one, whatever.
Something around that
the
time.
fact that the passion behind that was just so infused by so many fans that Larian Studios was the best team to do it, and they've just done it in the best possible way.
They
They
really
couldn't
have.
have done it any better. Besides the pandemic, which is obviously not in their control, they've been able to cope with things like that in the best way. And I know for the future they do want to do a smaller title. They want to probably
Yeah.
work on a smaller game, but it just goes to prove that when they do something like this, which has taken a lot for them to do, I think it's 6 years of development or something,
Yeah, it was
something like that.
6.
I don't know the specifics.
Yeah.
And then all of that effort, they just prove that they can do it. But yeah, the future is bright for that studio. Ultimately,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
I hope they go with a new IP for their next thing, and also with Sven Vinke being getting a bit older. Do you think he's going to hand his armor down to the next CEO, the one he was wearing in the Panel of Hell? Like
He
it's a
has to.
rite of passage.
he has
Maybe.
to. He has
Yeah.
to.
I agree a lot with what Jack said. Like when Early Access came out, I think just before the game came out, I had around 350 hours in just Act 1 for Early Access for how much I played the game. So my expectations were pretty high, and Larian obviously blew it out of the water, especially adding in like Dragonborn and all the other classes, like Paladin, Barbarian, and then Monk on full release and things like that. It's probably one of my favorite games already, and it's given me one of those feelings I haven't had in a long time of, like, I enjoy a lot of games I play. I have a lot of fun with them, whether with friends or on my own. But there's not a lot of games that give you that giddy feeling of just like, I could wake up an hour earlier just so I can like play the game a bit more. I can't stop thinking about this game. Like that's what I had when I first got into the Dragon Age and Mass Effect series. It's what I had for like a lot of like the Diablo 2 when I was playing it growing up. I had that feeling a lot for it as well, and it's easily one of the games that I'm going to remember for a very long time, especially because as opposed to Jack, you playing like the human cleric, I recreated my very first D&D character, a cleric
You
of
had a
Light Dragonborn.
Completely different
who-
character, yeah.
Yeah, no, like, and his backstory was like, he was like bound to a demon and did horrible stuff, and it's like, hey guys, there's this new Dark Urge you can play as, and it's like, well, don't mind if I do. And I had a very different playthrough than I was expecting.
Yeah, it's interesting that all of us did I guess me and Jack did sort of a similar playthrough.
Yeah.
I played an elf, and I did a good playthrough. So it's nice that we have a little bit of difference between our playthroughs.
Absolutely, yeah. Going
Yeah.
full on Dark Urge for like
Yeah.
a first playthrough is ballsy. That's a ballsy
It
move,
is.
and I
Well,
respect it.
Well, I resisted the Dark Urge every chance, besides the very first thing that happens when you go to camp as a Dark Urge. Sorry, Alfira. Besides that, I never gave in to the Dark Urge. I only tried to resist. The only time I failed resisting was in Act 2, when your little goblin demon butler tries to get you to murder your lover, which was one of my favorite cutscenes, because I'm there like about to murder Karlak, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, I can't stop myself. It's just like, I understand. You've told me everything. I know this isn't you. Now stand still while I knock you the fuck out and tie you up and tell you that you can do this. And it's like, I love her. This is great.
I love Karlak. She is so wholesome.
She knocks you out, ties you up on the bed, and you're just like, and she's like, I love you. You'll be okay.
That's actually adorable.
Brilliant. It is.
Oh, man.
I couldn't have said it better myself, by the way. I agree with both of you. It's Baldur's Gate 3 is I've been playing it since the beginning of early access, and I haven't been so excited for a game like this in years. Just the way I've been immersed, and it's hard to explain, but Baldur's Gate 3 just has something that a lot of games don't have for me. It's something similar to what Dragon Age and Mass Effect have, and I'm just really glad that there's another game out there now that has that same thing. It's a bit vague. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
No, it makes sense though. Yeah.
It's the whole...
Like,
It feels
if,
like
if,
home.
Like if
Yeah, it does.
Dread Wolf was a critical failure, which it's not going to be, At least we've got Baldur's Gate 3. But what I'm saying is, at least more studios are creating BioWare-esque games. At least more studios are creating RPGs for the scale that we love and that we cherish that are in BioWare.
Yeah.
In terms of taking on things like romance, character customization, detailed storylines, character arcs, dialogue, trees, classes. I know it all comes from D&D essentially, but at least more studios are striving to do that.
It's
so
great.
I get what you mean.
Yeah, like being a fan of fantasy games if you're a fan of fantasy games, you're having a great time right now. This is a good time. And I think that's it for me. I really like fantasy games and just the fantasy genre, and combine that with the reactivity in the game, the freedom that you have, the autonomy and the characters and the romance and just the good storylines. Like combine all of that and it's just one perfect little package. Well, near perfect. It's not perfect. The game's not perfect. Definitely not. We'll talk about that too. But it's near perfect.
We'll definitely talk about that.
Yeah,
it's definitely near perfect. It definitely is near perfect.
It's a similar. Like I have not me because I love fantasy and horror are my two favorite genres, and Dragon Age Origins mixes that very well.
Horror is a
Baldur's Gate 3, specifically Act 2, definitely lean into it, which I love.
Really
yes.
But like I've had some people who have had a similar experience to me where fantasy is not their genre, but the story and the characters are what really drew them to Baldur's Gate, because I can take or leave sci-fi. It's not...
Yeah, me too.
Like, it doesn't get me like fantasy and horror. But Mass Effect is a hill I will die on.
Yeah.
Like, if it wasn't for the story or the characters of Mass Effect, I couldn't care about the world or the gameplay.
Same.
Whereas Baldur's Gate has a lot similar, like, Faerun, Rivellon, no, Rivellon's divinity. I don't know what specifically, like Sword Coast. I don't know anything about the lore. I don't know anything about the lore of D&D. Like, I run a D&D game in real life, and I made my own world, so I can just make shit up as I go along.
Fair enough.
And definitely didn't base it like 90% off of Dragon Age. But with Baldur's Gate, it's like, I don't need to know what's happening in the world, because it's a very contained story about, hey, you've been infected with a little tadpole, and so have these guys. Fix it.
Yeah.
On your way to fix it, look at all the horrible things you might have to do and things that will happen to you.
Yeah.
It's a good personal story, though. Like, you're invested from the get-go, whereas other games aren't as invested. Like, even with games like Fallout, Elder Scrolls, you're the Dragonborn, you need to save this one. Yeah, but why? Because you're called to, you're the hero, you're the chosen one. Yeah, but I don't feel personally attached to this narrative. Yeah, Alduin almost killed me, but actually he saved me from being executed. So do I really want to go kill him? Not really. Whereas in Baldur's Gate, no, if you do not get this tadpole out of your skull, you will become a mind flayer and you will die. But equally, there are more mysteries that are surrounding you and your party that you need to solve for the betterment of your own character, for the betterment of the narrative, but also for the betterment of the characters around you that you've grown to become friends with, become rivals with. It's all so intrinsically connected that makes the narrative so good and makes you so personally invested in it, you know. Equally, if you want to go and faff about, go to the circus, you can, because while the narrative is still kind of like fast paced and you need to solve this thing out, there's still an element where like you still have the freedom to do what you've got to do in the course of time. So it's just got that brilliant personal connection that I love.
You don't set out to save the world or be the hero the world needs.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You get a caterpillar.
Saving yourself.
You get a worm stuck in your eye. You wake up in the dirt and you go visit a bunch of hippies in the forest to try and fix it. And when they can't fix it, it's like, all right, here's the next person that might be able to fix it. And along the way, you learn about all the conspiracies and zealotrous bigotry and like violence that the absolute cult are doing. And as you learn more and more and you get towards Act 3, it's like, all right, you could become the hero, or you could just put the nail in the coffin, like, go right ahead. The option's right there.
I like how, if you play as a custom character, but also if you play as one of the other, the origin characters, you're basically just a random nobody, and you just were put into this situation, and it's up to you how you want to fix it. You're not really destined to be a hero unless you want it to be. And that's just great about it. You're just someone that lives in the world.
Yeah, literally. You're not set to save Faerun. You're not set to save Faerun. You're set there to save yourself from a tadpole. And in the process, you may save Faerun. Equally, you may just save yourself, but that isn't your ultimate goal. It's a very selfish goal, but that makes it realistic, and you are personally responsible and connected to it because you want to save yourself at the end of the day. And that's what I love. It's not about actually, from like a moral point of view, it's not about, oh, my character really wants to save this world despite all the wicked and evil things that go on. It's actually no, I'm ultimately rooting for myself, and I need to save myself.
Yeah, you can be one of those
Yeah,
wicked evil things.
You can be evil. Because they can, in other games you are grounded to, well, I need to save the world, I guess. But it's like, well, no, my evil character wouldn't do that. He's not. He is a self-serving bastard.
You can go
and he
murder
wants to
hobo if you want to.
Yeah.
And not only that, you have a party full of companions who don't all share your view or goals. Like, if you wanted to save the world, it's like Gale, Will, and Karlak could definitely be on your side for that. Halsin, Minsk is just happy to serve Boo. Jaheira probably good. But if you want to be an evil bastard, Astarion and Lae'zel are right there, and so is Minthara.
Yeah.
And even like and Shadowheart to an extent.
Shadowheart's got some good trickery. Yeah.
But even then, like, saving the world isn't like, we're all heroes, whereas Gale, it's like, well, I might as well because I'm gonna die anyway. Will is just like, I'm the blade of frontiers. I need to be the one to like protect the world, and if I die doing it, so be it. And Karlak's just like, I'm gonna die anyway. Why not?
Yeah.
her and Gale are just there like, well, if we're gonna do it anyway.
But then Shadowheart is self-serving. She doesn't care about. She wants a healer because she wants to finish her calling for Lady Shah. Like, it's very much that personal quest. She doesn't give a shit about the world. You know what I mean? It's like, well, I'm doing this.
Lae'zel definitely couldn't give a shit about the world.
No.
Yeah.
Same for Astarion, to be honest. He just wants to get as much power as possible so he can escape his master Cazador. Basically, and he doesn't really care if he has to kill anyone to do it. But I like about the companions, if you want to be a hero, you can get most of them to come along with you if your approval is high enough.
Yeah.
I think everyone but Minthara, basically.
Everyone except Minthara. Minthara is... You can only get her if you do certain things, which is raiding the Druid's Grove. And if you do
essentially
that...
going on the side of the Absolute, and then you lose Karlak and Will.
Yeah.
Oh, do you? If you go for Minthara?
Yeah, they just leave without like.
If
they're in your part, they just leave as soon as you're about to like start the fight. When you get back to camp, Gale's just like, "You're a prick. I'm leaving." And you can just be like, "But you'll die," and he'll be like, "Damn it, you're right."
Yeah, you can persuade him to stay.
I hate you, but I'm staying.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm doing that on my next solo run through.
I think we're doing that with the Chaos run.
Definitely.
Well, you want
Romance and Minthara. Yes.
I think Shadowheart
Karlak.
she doesn't like it, but she's okay with it, I think. Because I know she stays.
Astarion loves it because they have better wine. Lae'zel will just punch anyone, so she doesn't care. Whereas Shadowheart, she's getting drunk and she's like, "We did it. So why do I feel guilty?
Yeah.
I shouldn't. This kind of sucks. I don't feel guilty." And Gale's just like, stupid main character killing all the tieflings. I don't want to be. I'll just blow up. I don't just blow up. Kill us all.
Speaking on that though, one of the things that I'm most proud about in my BG3 first run through is actually having. So my team was Shadowheart, Lae'zel, and sometimes Jaheira, sometimes Karlak. Quite swapped about, but it was more so Karlak towards the end. But I always maintained a good friendship. Well, I romanced Shadowheart, but I got Lae'zel and Shadowheart. Despite their always contrasting approval, I maintained them both throughout my entire run through. And even at the end, when I decided to kill, the Githyanki in the artifact. Yeah. Even after that, I needed to get a critical 20 to keep Lae'zel in my party because she was going to kill me. And I actually got a 20 and it was brilliant. And she stayed even to the very end, and that's what I loved throughout all of it. Despite our contrasting nature, I was still because I do like Lae'zel, and I was maintaining a lot of approval of her because I genuinely got on with her. It was just obviously I was romancing Shadowheart, so there was a lot of contrast. But I did like her, and I loved her in my party. And I managed to the very end because of keeping that approval going. I did manage to win her over at the very last second, but it would have literally been a critical scene of her deciding to be like, right, nope, that's it, I'm done, I'm out, I'm going to kill you. But till the very end, kept that approval going.
Yeah.
For me, I managed to have everyone maxed out except for Minsk because I got him a little bit too late.
Yeah.
But my main party was Will, Gale, and Karlak, and then swapping people out depending on whose quest was coming up or things like that. And then I sided against the Emperor and went with Orpheus. Spoiler alert: you have to end up killing Orpheus anyway if he becomes the mind flayer.
I did the same thing
Because after the whole thing ends, he's just like, "Cool, we saved my people. Can you kill me? I'm ugly. I hate myself. This is horrible. I
Funny
hate
thing,
this.
That whole what you're supposed to get, the whole conversation was bugged for me because right before we destroyed the brain, I had him wild shaped into the Dysplasia Beast. So he was stuck in that form as we went into the last cutscene that you get with everyone. So he never said anything for me. He was just there, and instead, for some reason, the game thought I had turned into a mind flayer. So Minsk and Jaheira were all like, "Oh well, it's you made a great sacrifice," and then I got an option to say, "Oh, it was all worth it," and I was just sitting here like, I'm not a mind flayer. What are you talking about?
With Orpheus, once you like have that scene on the docks, he's essentially like, Lae'zel, I don't want to be here anymore. This sucks. You are like the new rebel to take down Vlaakith, and then he asks your character to kill him. And you have multiple chances to persuade him to, like, at least try and help from the shadows, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
So then you stab him, and then you get the scene with everyone else. But otherwise,
It's a shame I missed out on that, to be honest. Because I was confused. I was like, is Orpheus dead? He's not saying anything?
Because I took Lae'zel into the artifact when, like, we were going in there, because it's like, oh, we're going to go in there after the brain's, like, busted through the ground and is attacking the city, and it's like, okay. We're obviously going to Orpheus. This is a big decision. I'm just going to put Lae'zel in here. I'll come back and get you later. And there was never another opportunity to change my party. Lae'zel was just with me.
I hated that too because my main party was Astarion, Shadowheart, and Karlach for mostly throughout the game. I swapped some companions in and out depending on what quest I was doing. But that was my main party. And I took Lae'zel to do Orpheus. And I wanted to swap, because I swapped Shadowheart out for Lae'zel. And I had the same thought as you did. I'll come back later to, get my main party to go into the final boss battle. But you never could, which is weird. Because at some point you enter, I think it's the Great Hall that you enter, and you find all of your allies that you've gathered throughout the game. You find all of them there, you give a little speech, and then you find, I think Jaheira is there, and Halsin is there.
Everyone is there except for you, like the other party members, and it's like, this would have been a good last chance to change your people around.
Perfect opportunity to change your party, maybe talk to them before you go into the final battle. So that's a little bit weird that wasn't an option. Other than that,
all this, with all this tiptoeing around that we're doing, do we want to talk about the ending?
Do we want to? We certainly do. I think now that we're on the
subject. Oh God, it is abrupt.
Yeah. Yep. It is. It's
like I finished the game before the Karlach ending update came out.
Yeah.
So,
oh no.
So my ending was, the nether brain crashes in. Orpheus. Yeah. Orpheus thinks he's ugly. We'll just stab him. Goodbye, Lae'zel. Go take on Vlaakith. Astarion turns into a crispy steak and runs off into the docks. No dialogue. Yeah. Shadowheart looks at me and says, "Man, Astarion probably hates his life right now." And then I looked at Karlach dying on the docks. And I'm just like, no, like, go to Avernus so you can live. And Will's like, I'll protect you. And they run off, and I never see them again. And I'm like, okay. And then the game ends, and I'm like, okay. Okay, here's Withers. There's another cutscene. Mm-hmm. So after Withers, there's going to be like a post-credits like slide, like Dragon Age Inquisition, like maybe just like slides on a piece of paper. Withers basically flips off the 3 gods, confirms that he's Jurgle, and the game ends. And I'm just like,
yeah, that's it.
What?
Yeah, that's it.
What? What?
Yeah. I finished it after the Karlach ending got added, but even with the Karlach ending, I had no clue what Shadowheart was up to after the party parted ways, because I got the same thing as you, Lambo. Is poor Astarion is gonna have some issues with not being able to walk in the sun again. It's like, great. And then she said nothing. Halsin didn't say anything. Jaheira and Minsk didn't say anything.
They were just standing in the background too.
Yeah. The only characters that I got like a scene with, obviously Karlach and Will, because I had them go to Avernus together as well. And Astarion, because I romanced him. And even that, it's nice. It's a very cute scene because you have the option of promising him to find a way for him to walk into the sun again. Into the sunlight again. Not into the sun. English is hard sometimes. It's fine. Anyway, you get an option to help him to be able to walk in the sunlight again. And that's cute. But even with that cutscene, it's a little bit lacking, I feel like. It's
Very
a
abrupt.
very short cutscene that you get with your romance, and there are no ending slides, which is something I was kind of hoping for.
That's something that should be in. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is something that should be in.
So I'll come back to the ending slides because I've looked around, but like with the Karlak ending being added, I went back and played through it, and it's like, okay, so now I can go with Will and Karlak back to Avernus.
Yeah.
You have the ending where you're there with her, and she's like, I hate being back here, but at least I'm with you this time. And then you go off and try and fight some imps. Ignoring the question of how you get to Avernus in the 10 seconds she has before she dies, I assume that once the tadpole's gone, everyone gets back to full strength, because Gale and Will both talk about how they could do amazing things before the tadpole, so I just assume Gale got his strength back or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was expecting the House of Hope side quest to play into one of the endings I got, because I thought that with Raphael gone and Hope being back in command of that place, that's somewhere safe for Karlak to be without having to worry about Zariel in Avernus. Like,
Yeah.
yes, you have
That's
to
a
go
very
back to
good point.
Avernus, but we can be somewhere safe.
Yeah.
And then we just teleport to a random rock, and it's like, okay, who was navigating? Because this is horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then looking back through it and looking at a lot of other people's comments, I don't know where the 17,000 endings claim from Larian
Flipping it. Yeah.
was pointing at, because, like, besides the decision of do you want to kill the brain or be the absolute, nothing you
Nothing
do
else.
besides your
Yeah.
companions matters. And with your companions, you get one line of dialogue from half of them.
Yeah.
Lae'zel gets the biggest payoff, maybe, by riding a dragon into the astral sea to fight a god.
Wow.
Yeah, like if you have Orpheus, he gives her the true names of his dragons, so she can call them and like lead the Githyanki army back into the astral
Okay.
sea.
I want to do that next time because it sounds amazing.
Yeah, she gets the biggest like send off. And
does, yeah.
apparently there are slides, like the 15-minute long slides that Lorraine talked about. Apparently those are in the game files, but there's a bug or an issue with them that doesn't play out properly, or there's too many bugs with too many variables. And since Larian moved the game up by a month, they just cut it off
I actually
to make
think
so that people didn't get all the bugs.
I was gonna say I think they left them out intentionally, because they did mention in, I think it was patch 2, they did mention that they thought the epilogue was going to be too long, so they cut a lot of it. But as it turns out,
it went to the other end of the spectrum.
It's gone.
Like,
yeah.
with like what I had 110 hours, I think, in my playthrough. I don't care if the ending is a 15-minute video. I want to see what my decisions did.
Everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like,
that's
if
the thing,
if they can get those, like, you know, like I landed on the beach, I saved the druids from Korga, I revealed the shadow druid, I revealed the shadow druids. Halsin spared her. What's the outcome of the Grove?
Exactly.
In Act 2, I saved Isabel and protected the Last Light Inn. What happened as I was leaving Act 2? Like, in the Shadow Cursed Lands, a giant golden tree sprouts. What's happening there now?
Yeah.
In Act 3, I killed the hag again and made her puke up a child. Ew, first of all. What happens after that? Does Baldur's Gate become, like, superstitious of hags or become really paranoid about hags now? I broke Missoura's contract on Will and still found his father and saved him.
Yeah.
Is anyone going to be really sus about him? Because he was the one that was pointing at Gortash and saying he's good.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah.
For me, I didn't have that much of like a blunt reaction to it, because what happened for me was Halsin didn't join my party because I didn't realize to do his quest, because I hadn't talked to him in the camp. I think because I was playing it before the game came out, I was trying to go through it as quickly as possible, and I didn't realize I was supposed to speak to him, so I didn't get that quest line. So Halsin left. Yeah, he left basically with at the end of Act 2. And then I accidentally killed Gale in the boss fight with Orin. What happened was Orin had taken Gale during the Act 3 when I think it was I was doing the Steam Watch quest line where basically I escaped. No, I came out the sewers and Orin had dressed as Gale, or had shapeshifted as Gale, and said, "Oh, go, save. Orin's too powerful. You need to stop. Whatever." And turns out that was actually Orin, and she'd kidnapped Gale and taken Gale to the Temple of Baal. And so then I had to go to Temple of Baal. Gale was on this altar, pinned down yet to go and kill Orin and then save him. What happened was I used what is it? Insect
plague.
Insect
circle.
swarm?
Insect plague. I used insect plague by accident. Well, not by accident, but I used insect plague against Orin, and I accidentally hit Gale within the circle. And then within 2 goes, Gale had been eaten by insect swarms, and I couldn't resurrect him, and so he just died.
Poor Gale.
So I didn't get a Gale epilogue. Well, that was the Gale epilogue. But then the epilogue actually came. Astarion ran away. Lizelle stayed with me after hitting a critical 20. Shadowheart, it was really good because I got an end credit scene where we were together in a cabin talking about the future together and just staying together. Karlach blew up.
Oh no!
And Will still was with Missoura. I can't
Did you
remember
not
what
break
happened
him
to
out of
Will.
the pact?
No, I didn't. I made him the Duke though.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And
I had him make
yeah.
that choice himself, and he was like, "Nah, I'm not made to be a Duke. I'd rather be the Blade of Avernus."
Yeah, no, I was like, "Nah, you're gonna be the Duke." And so it was actually a decent ending, mainly because I was happy with the Shadowheart ending. Them being together in a cabin, that seemed like the perfect way for the game to end. And still being friends with Lizelle, despite absolutely ruining her entire path and culture. And yeah, so it was actually decent. But I do want those end credit scenes to kind of, the slides to be like, right, the Druids, this is what's happening. Because the Druids survived until, the Tieflings survived until the very end for me. Even in the final boss fight, I had, what was he called?
Zevlor?
I had Zevlor survive until the
Zevlor.
very end.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right, well, he's a character I saw since the start of the game. What are they doing now? I know that why you laughed, Lisa, for that.
What happened
was
to
the
Dame
thing.
Aelin and Isabel as
So-
well?
Exactly.
That's
yeah.
I can tell you what happened to him in my game.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Dame Aelin is fine. Isabel and most of the Tieflings and everyone in the Last Night Inn, not so much. So, funny story. I fucked up. All right. So, I was talking to Isabel, right? And then she gets attacked by Marcus and his demons, whatever. And then he's like, hey, True Soul, we need to get her to the Moonlight Tower alive. And then my first reaction was, I'm gonna warn her and tell her that she is being kidnapped. So I did that, and then we had a fight, and she went down, and so Marcus took her, and then I died, so I had to reload. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it differently this time. What happens if I say nothing? So what happened was, Isabel turned hostile because she thought I was on Marcus's side. I was like, oh, okay, I did not mean for this to happen. But I just went with it because for some reason, I don't know why, it's really dumb, but for some reason I thought she was supposed to be taken because she went down so fast in my first battle that I had that I was like, oh, maybe this is supposed to happen, which is, again, really dumb because of course it's not. Also not realizing that, of course, she was keeping the barrier up that was protecting everyone from the Shadow Curse. So she was taken because she was hostile, so I had to knock her out. She was taken, and then the barrier went down, and then everybody in the inn died and turned into shadow zombies. And then I had to go through this awful, awful battle with everyone in the inn, and all of the shadows from around the inn had to fight everyone. And then when I killed everybody, just the entire inn, which is supposed to be this one bit of
happy
nice
place.
light at the end of the tunnel, your one shining light in the darkness, it was just completely silent. Everyone was dead. I didn't want to reload, but then I later realized Damon, the person that's supposed to help Karlach, was also dead. Thankfully,
Yep.
I had already upgraded her engine, so it was fine. But I didn't know that for the longest time. I was like, "Oh my god, Damon's dead. She's gonna explode." I'm not gonna be
Do
able to help
not
her
get
now."
me started about the engine and how much Infernal Iron I had in Act 3.
Same. I had so much
Yeah.
of it, and we just couldn't do anything with
And
it.
the Steel Watchers kept dropping it, and it's
I
like, I have
know.
12 pieces of Infernal Iron. Damn it,
was
I don't
just-
care if you can't fix it. Put a bubble around it. I have the
I
material.
know,
Do
right?
it.
Yeah.
Make her a chest piece out of it.
Yeah, do something with it, because now it's been in my inventory until the very end of the game. It's like, oh, okay, I guess we could use this to help Karlach, but no, fuck it, I guess. Sure.
Yeah. So you guys didn't play as the Urge, because for me in
No.
Act 2 is where the Urge got a lot of
Oh yeah.
little insights and memories that got me very confused. Like when you first get to Act 2, you have a sleep, and your demon's like, "Hey, buddy, what's going on? Can you go kill this girl named Isabel?" And I'm like, no. And then you get there, you find Isabel, Marcus shows up, and I murdered him, saved everyone there, felt pretty good. And then when you get to Moonrise, you look at Ketheric Thorm for the first time, and the Urge is like, "He's sitting in your throne," and I'm like, "He's what in my what now?"
No way.
I'm sorry, this is my place. Did I do all this?
No way.
And then at the end of Act 2, and going into Act 3, you have the cutscene where Gortash and Orin are basically like slapping each other with their hands and arguing. And as Orin's leaving, she's like, "Don't worry, my sibling is coming back to us." And I'm like, "Her what? What?
Yeah.
Who?
I'm a dragonborn, and you're a drow? Question mark?
She's
Drow?
I think she's a changeling. She's not
Yeah.
drow. She's a changeling, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's a
I was
changeling?
confused. A changeling
What's a
is just someone who can take the shape of any race, basically.
Yeah.
Also, we don't really know what her actual form is.
Yeah.
Or is that
I
her
guess
form?
it's the one we
Is that-
see. The one that
That's
she's in.
the one. That's the
Yeah.
one that she stays as.
She stays in,
but
yeah.
Yeah, it's
She
yeah,
could be
I don't-
anything.
well, yeah, literally. For me, she came to my camp as Lae'zel. At the start of Act 3, like that little girl comes up to you with her cat.
Yeah.
Brought them back to my camp, and I just go back to camp one day, and Lae'zel has a knife to her throat, like, "This is Orin, let's slit her throat." And I'm like, whoa, Lae'zel, this is not out of character for you at all. But you're asking me if we should do it. That's out of character.
Yeah.
So I knew something was up. Obviously, it was Orin, but she didn't slit the child's throat. But she took Lae'zel, followed Orin all the way down, and then it all gets revealed that it's like, "Hey, you're a ball spawn." Everyone guessed that in the game leading up to it. Also, you're the one that went to Moonrise. You found the illithid big brain. I can't remember the name. I know Nether Brain was the one before that. The Elder Brain.
Brain.
You found the Elder Brain. You started up the tadpoles. You started infecting everyone. You're the one that started the Absolute Curse. And then Orin stabbed you in the back, infected you, literally put holes in your brain, and shoved you on a illithid. And it's like, oh, the Dark Urge is at fault for everything.
Oof.
This is great.
Oof.
So did you own Moonrise Towers then, or did you just go?
I think you just went there and you found the Elder Brain,
Yeah.
and you're the one that started the entire plot. It's literally all your fault.
That's great
And
about
since
the
I-
Dark Urge,
and-
though.
I love that. I love that.
Because
And since I was a redeeming Dark Urge, I obviously resisted. After I defeated Orin and saved Lae'zel and everything, that little goblin dude again shows up, explodes into blood, and then Baal
God.
speaks to you through his reflection in the blood.
Oh,
And he's like,
shit.
"Hey, you're good. I like how you kill things. How about you want some power?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want your power. Fuck you. I've met Karlach. I've changed my life. My religion is Karlach now." And he's just like, "Oh, okay. I'll just take back all of you that is me." And he just drains your blood through like all of your skin, and you just die. And I was like, "Oh." And then you get to play for like a few seconds, and I couldn't resurrect myself, and I was like, "Did I just die?" And then Withers walks in out of
I
out
love
of stage
Withers.
left. He just walks in. He's just like, "Yeah, you were a ball spawn, but you've changed enough that you're now something else." He resurrects, basically flips off Ball, and then walks away. And he's like, "Yeah, congratulations, you're new. You're not a ball spawn. Yada yada yada. You can kiss the bride. Goodbye." I'm just like,
What? Can you actually kiss Karlach at that point?
no. I think she gives you a hug because she was worried that you were dead. But then Withers just leaves, and I'm like, "Can we stop for like 5 seconds? I just found out I'm Satan. I flipped off Satan, and then I died, and then I came back like Jesus. I needed breath."
Yeah.
And then after that, I went to Jaheira in Minsk, and I was like, "Hey, weird story. I'm a ball spawn." And
oh no.
Jaheira was like, "Yeah, but you're fine." Like, because I helped her kill. Like, I took her with me when we met Savarok, and we murdered him.
Oh, that was when I saw
That was so
Sarah
good.
for the first time. I messaged you guys in this chat. I'm like, Sarah,
Yeah.
what the
That,
fuck?
I was
so
trying so hard
excited.
not to say anything.
Me too.
'Cause
Me too.
As soon as you
because
meet,
you were talking about the Lady of Shire woman being a returning character,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Bugonia.
just you wait. Yeah, I was like,
Yes.
just you wait.
Yeah. as the Dark Urge, when you meet Sabarok, he's like, Orin's my granddaughter, but you're the son I never had. And I just looked at Jahiro and I'm like, can we murder him? And Jahiro was like, yeah, let's go. And he was like, how dare you? I didn't even
Yeah.
engage in any of the other questions.
Does that mean that he's your granddad?
No. He, like, you're just better than his own blood, is what he's saying. Like,
Mhm.
But if you're
you're the son he never had.
But if you're sisters to Orin,
Your
does that-
siblings in the case that you're part of the same cult. What race is Savarok? Human? Goliath?
I am actually not sure. I can look. Hold on.
Well, yeah.
Let me.
I don't know if that would go. I don't know if human to dragonborn to changeling really works out.
But I really like the character arc that you've gone on with your character, kind of not having an idea of who they are, starting out, and then resisting the urges, to then starting anew with then Karlach and becoming something else, and how that's panned out. Honestly, I actually now it's inspiring me to create like a resisting Dark Urge character, and then romancing Shadowheart, and then as she has her kind of transformation,
yeah.
then me
Yeah.
having my transformation.
It would
I think
be
that would be a
even-
really good character arc that would work out really well.
I do know that you get extra dialogue if you play as a cleric of Saluna, and
Oh.
like
That'd
if
be
you're
interesting.
if you're romancing Shadowheart, like I did that in
Yeah.
early access with the I did a mod so paladins could have clerics, and like that's a whole thing for her is accepting that you can be together with Saluna. So if you
Yeah.
do that and as a redeeming Dark Urge, just
Oh.
a lot there that would be really
Yeah.
good.
That's going to be my new canon. Right, let me write it down.
Yeah,
Let me write it down.
I said the exact same thing to Lambo a few days ago while we were talking about the game. Because I did a playthrough as a custom character. And after Lambo told me about what the Dark Urge is like, I'm like, I think I'm going to change my canon to that. Because I think what
Yeah,
custom character...
same.
Yeah.
It's the nature of a custom character, but it's lacking a bit of background, which is understandable because you want the player
Yeah.
to be able to project as much of themselves or what character they
As
have in
possible,
their head
for
onto
sure.
the custom character.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of, oh, I'm from Baldur's Gate or I'm from this, and I guess you get different options depending on your race as well. But since I was an elf,
Yeah.
you get elf options, and you can say you're from Baldur's Gate, and you can recognize
Yeah.
people that are also from Baldur's Gate. But I was missing
also
a bit of that I am part of the story, and with the Dark
Yeah.
Urge, you also have a dark secret like the other characters.
Yeah.
And instead
Yes,
of helping,
absolutely.
yeah, and instead of helping the other
Yeah.
characters get through their issues, through their pasts, and through all the pain, you also
They
have
have to do
your
it for
own
you.
thing that they can help you
Yeah.
with as well. Because that's what I felt
It's
like
true.
with the
don't
romances.
have-
Yeah,
Yeah.
and with the romances, especially for me, because I romanced Astarion, you help him all the way through up until you kill Cazador to either, you can either have
Yeah.
him embrace the power and encourage his behavior, or you can, which is what I did. I had him not ascend, and I stood by, my
So
character
did I.
stood by him as he was going through all of this, and then finally killing Cazador, and then finally being able to persuade him to not take the power because it would corrupt him. And then while
Yeah.
my custom character helps him with that, if you're the Dark Urge, he can help you with your issues. And I think
Exactly.
for a relationship,
Yes.
that's just because
Yeah.
you're supporting each other rather than with a custom character, you're
Just you.
just supporting them.
feeling
And
that,
now
like,
with the Dark
having a
Urge, you're
bland
supporting each other.
backstory.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with that 100% because, like, that's the thing with a custom character. You are just your own character. You've created with your own kind of complexities, but you're always helping other characters, and they can't
Yeah.
really help you
Yeah.
besides, supporting you through the narrative, supporting you with decisions you make. But there isn't that turning point kind of moment that you have with the Dark Urge that you have with your own custom
Yeah.
character. Because of course there isn't, and that's that. Honestly, same for me. The same incentive to do that. And now with Shadowheart, just having that, she's got that moment, and obviously every other character does too. But I gravitate towards Shadowheart because she is bare. But having that twist point narrative where she can support my character as much as he has supported her. I love that, and it's something that I want to do too, because my custom character, with every first playthrough of a video game or of an RPG, it's always a self-insert. It's easy. You get to react to how you would react in that situation, or being as adaptive as possible. Obviously, contextualizing fantasy and all that stuff is hard, in with our own modern day perspectives. But you get what I mean. It's creating a character who follows kind of the same moral alignment to me, the same
Yeah.
kind of virtues, things that I definitely would say in that scenario, and it's really fun. But you don't get that, multi-layered narrative that Lambo's had with
Yeah.
resisting or accepting the Dark Urge and having that full-on, kind of narrative unveils that it was you to begin with. And that is honestly going to be my third, after, alongside the Chaos Crew, with Justira just being an absolute asshole. I'm sorry, Justira, I'm going to have Dark Edge. And it probably will become a canon because it just sounds so good having both characters go through traumatic experiences but molding each other together through that. I'm definitely a fan of it. Thanks to Lambo for going through that.
Yeah.
I do kind of wish that, similar to like Shadowheart embracing Selûne, that after you resisted the Dark Urge, you got like a mark or your like appearance changed a little bit. But otherwise, like, if only there was a way to change your appearance at will. Oh boy.
Well, they're going to implement.
I know they're
that.
adding that. Yeah. It also, the Dark Urge as a whole harkens back to BioWare in two ways. Obviously, the Dark Urge is just a massive reference, and Larian jerking off to Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. Like, ball spawn, Savarog, everyone look at him, please clap. Like,
yeah.
Like, it's great. I haven't played the first two games, but even I was still like, I know who Savarog is.
Yeah.
Who the hell?
They're
What the
so
hell?
good. They're really good. I recommend them.
And the twist that you're behind everything and the main villain is Star Wars: The Old Knights of the Old Republic 1.
Yes.
You being Darth Revan. You being Darth Revan.
So I've never played that, so I don't know.
Well, it's the exact same thing. Like, there's a big bad Sith. There's a big bad Sith. They've started like a giant galactic war that's gonna kill everyone. You wake up as an amnesiac. You get through the game helping people. Hey, you were the Sith. The Jedi wiped your mind and made you a good guy, and you've been resisting the dark side. And then if you play as like staying as a Jedi throughout the whole thing, you're literally fixing the things you did and embracing the relationship with people. And some of the people that are part of your party know your secret, and you changing makes them like surprised along the way. So like that was giving me a lot of flashbacks to that game, which was very helpful, and should have been a big like red flag of just like, you're the villain, you're the villain, you're the villain.
Yeah. And I can imagine playing through that as a first playthrough as well. Like, now me doing a custom character, I'm like, that was great, but Dark Urge just sounds like not the way it's meant. I think the way it's meant to be played, it's definitely to be a custom character first, because you're experiencing it without that perspective of not knowing anything about the game anyway, so it's easier to come into it. And then Dark Urge being second, but it just sounds like one of the more definitive ways to play with those twists.
Agree.
But it helps understanding them first, because if you're going in blind and you don't really know what's going on, and you did take on the urge, or you did resist it, or you didn't really know what was going on, you kind of probably get a little bit like, not the full effect of understanding it all. Whereas now, going into that, it's going to be really, really good.
See, I'm in two minds about it. Of obviously leading up to the game, Larian and everyone was saying like, don't play Dark Urge as your first character.
Yeah, they recommended.
I would argue
character
that you
first.
should. I would honestly argue that you should, because of how integral they are to the main plot. Because like, after you play through the whole game, you know all the twists. Playing through the Dark Urge, you'll still have that big reveal at the end. But I argue that even having played through early access and like seeing all the new Dark Urge content, having all those little pieces and the few cutscenes where your companions react to you like losing control and things like that, I think it honestly made my playthrough a lot better. And because I was a cleric of light, and I based the character off my first D&D character, and they worship the sun, so I had to pick Lathander, not knowing that Lathander had a massive thing at the end of Act 1.
Yeah.
The Dark Urge, and then obviously worshipping Lathander, being like at odds with each other, and then going throughout the whole game. If I wasn't the Dark Urge, like, that story would not have hit as hard for me.
Yeah, for sure.
That makes sense.
And obviously, like, when you get to the end of the game, you might pick it up here, like you might pick it up, or you might just ignore it. Ketheric, Gortash, and Orin, through conversations and stuff, they even admit that they didn't start this. They didn't start the whole plot. So if you don't play as the Dark Urge, there's just no explanation as to how it all happened.
Yeah, that makes sense.
True.
Yeah.
So who did then? Yeah.
Yeah, because if you play as the Dark Urge, obviously it's like
you did.
You've been a murderer for decades. You've been horrible. You started this. You roped like you got Ketheric back. You brought him back. You brought you manipulated Gortash to get in, and you were going to be the third person, the one of Baal, until Orin literally stabbed you in the back, opened your skull, cut out pieces of your brain, and threw you on an nautiloid.
Yeah.
Oh, she's so nice. A fun fact though, if you don't play as a Dark Urge, and after defeating Orin, if you go into her room, there is a white dragonborn called Ballspawn there. He's dead.
Yeah. So obviously in
so-
that world, she just killed
She
the Dark
killed him.
Urge.
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I know
that's
that-
so fun. Oh,
And I know
love
that as the Dark Urge, if you give in to your urges and like accept Ball's power, the thing that she transforms into, you get that power.
Yeah, the Slayer. You can
Right,
transform
dude,
into the Slayer, yeah.
I'm literally doing Dark Urge now. Obviously after Justira, but Dark Urge just sounds so good now
Yep.
with that. Just the whole context of it.
As
Yeah.
much as I
Hell
want to
yeah.
make a new character for a different playthrough, I think my next personal playthrough will also be the Dark Urge, and then the
Yeah.
character that I had. Yeah.
There's only one other, like throughout my whole playthrough, there's only one thing that really broke my immersion, and it had nothing to do with the Dark Urge, had nothing to do with the Cleric of Lathander. It had to do with the Dragonborn. So I picked a
Okay.
red
Okay.
Dragonborn, which meant I had the Fire Ancestry, I had Resistance to Fire, I had the Breath Weapon. Obviously, Lae'zel gets really horny over Dragonborn. But
Yeah.
because you're descended from dragons and they're like regal for her. But the thing that broke my immersion is when you're romancing Karlach, of course I bring her back. The first time like you want to hug or kiss her or something, she's like, we have to find a way for me to not burn you. And the ways that you can do that are drinking a potion of fire resistance or throwing water at her. And I'm just staring at my character like, I'm already resistant. Why can't I hug you? Come on.
That's such a good
That's a
point.
fair
That is
point.
a brilliant point.
Yeah, that's
it's
a
a
fair
brilliant point. Come on, you're a freaking
You're a
dragonborn, fire resistant.
I breathe
Like-
fire, Karlach. I think I can kiss you. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know what? That's a very good point. I
It
know
sounds like an
mods can fix
oversight.
that, but
That's the
That
only
should
time I
be-
was just like, come on,
Yeah.
this makes sense.
you know what? I'll spare them because there are like what 46 different races. But still,
It's not a major complaint,
Yeah.
but that is honestly like the main time when my immersion broke was like, I gotta throw a water balloon at you so I can kiss you. This is bullshit.
Yeah, that's completely
why
fair.
can't I? Yeah.
Because drinking a fire resistance potion didn't do anything.
That's fair.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I do
So-
love how everything like tied in with like race, class, and everything. All the extra dialogues worked out really well.
Yeah,
Oh, for sure.
that's great.
But speaking on the villains, I think honestly the standout villain for me, although Orin's performance was fantastic, and I enjoyed Gortash, it was
Catherine
flippin'
Thorne.
Catherick,
Catherine
definitely.
I wanted
Yeah.
more of him though.
Same.
I wanted more. I wish he was like the second or third villain to kill, and I
Yeah.
get why they did it him first, but just J.K. Simmons' first of all performance of him outstanding, but second of all, just his presence was so threatening and scary.
It
But then
was.
equally understanding his backstory, he wasn't just doing it for the sake of being evil. He was doing it because of flipping Isabel and his previous wife's death and how
And
long he
Saluna
kept
and
Mm.
Shah.
Saluna
how
and all,
they've
and he's gone
screwed
through
him
all
over.
the different gods. Yeah, and it was brilliant. It was so, and the only
It
thing
was.
was killing him too quickly. Like you got about a good couple of hours of his content, and that was really it. And it was kind of over fairly soon. I do wish there was more of him, but that's only testament to how good of a villain he was.
Yeah.
I mean, the opening cutscene where he just gets speared by a goblin and he's like, try,
Yeah.
try
So
again.
Fucking
Yeah.
badass. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Literally.
I guess that's another point is like, he obviously knows what's keeping him immortal. So why is he letting Balthazar or whatever his name is look for her? And therefore getting your character a
point.
quest to go find her.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. That's
It
a
was
good
all
point.
very weird.
To
Yeah.
be fair, when I entered Moonrise Towers, I convinced them that I was on their side, so
I need to do
they
an evil
trusted me.
playthrough.
I convinced him I was on their side as well.
Yeah, that actually answers one of my questions of who was our favorite villain.
Yeah.
I think it's
On the other end of the
Catherick.
spectrum,
Yeah.
in the lead up, when they released like the voices like J.K. Simmons and Isaac doing
Isaac,
Gortash and all
Jason,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, Jason Isaac. They kept saying that Gortash was not a straight villain, that he was complex, and that he's doing everything to save the city. I did not see that at all. Gortash
Yeah.
was a dick the entire time I was talking with him. And at no point, like, obviously he kept trying to like, oh, let's make a deal, go murder Orin. And I'm like, I don't want to make a deal with you. Like, convince me you're not evil. And he's just like, no, I will be the Archduke of Baldur's Gate, and we can rule this city, Spider-Man. And I'm like, dude, you're not making a great case for yourself. Karlach's over there like a rabid dog wanting to cut your head off, and it's
Yeah.
not me you need to convince. And also, he never tells you why he gave up Karlak.
Yeah.
That's true. He
He
doesn't.
never. He
Yeah.
like. My guess was that he traded her to Zariel in return for whatever made the steel watch work.
Yeah.
But he never tells her or says that.
Yeah.
And
So no closure.
also, as a very quick side note, do you find Gortash to be an attractive person?
He's described as handsome. I know he's described as handsome, but I know a lot of people.
Twitter
Do
has
not
been
like his
thirsty.
What?
Twitter has been very
Have they been
thirsty.
thirsty, really?
I like his
I
voice
can't
is attractive.
I can't
I've heard
stop
the
seeing.
opposite, really.
I keep seeing Dark Urge romancing Gortash smut on my
really?
Twitter,
Oh,
and it's
but
all my
that's-
BioWare mutes retweeting it.
So I've read that there are hints if you look at where you kill him. There have been hints that they had a thing together if you're the Dark Urge. I haven't seen this myself, but I've seen people talk about it, so maybe that's why.
Oh,
My
really?
Dragonborn did not swing that way.
way.
Although because I didn't want to be the big buff Dragonborn, I chose the female Dragonborn body and chose male pronouns and body and everything. And because, like, as the female Dragonborn, you just have, like, the scaled chest, so I looked completely male. Some of the romance scenes with Karlak implies my Dragonborn likes it a different way, so maybe I did swing that way at one point.
Yeah.
It was very awkward when we went on a date, and then she took me to the hotel, put me on the bed, and it's like, I don't think there's a hole there, but yep.
Interesting.
Oh, that's
Okay.
funny.
It was very awkward.
Oh, I need to see that cutscene.
Oh, man.
But no, I found Gortash to probably be the weakest. I think I liked
Yeah.
him, but like with obviously Keteric being fantastic, and then bloody Orin's performance and like thing about Orin is where she was
She's so
consistent and
great.
she was always getting in your way, which was brilliant.
Yeah.
Whereas Gortash, he was kind of in the sidelines, and I know obviously you can't, it's a way to mix 3 different villains, especially 2 of them in the same city. How do you kind of get around that? It's a challenge, and then them not really being the villains after all, them kind of being like sub villains. But still, I found Gortash to be like the least intimidating, the least threatening. Didn't feel like he did towards the end that much in the way of convincing me that I needed to kill him. Besides locking the city down and having the steel watch, I didn't find him
agree.
that threatening. But that's in comparison to Orin, who literally
agree.
steals your character, your companions, and is in your face. And in comparison to one of the scariest characters I've ever met, being
What-
Keteric
yeah.
Thorm.
What I liked
And if
about
you're the Dark
Orin-
Urge, Orin has so much more content and dialogue.
And
as
that
well.
even
Yeah.
more, even more so.
What I
So,
liked about Orin is that she keeps on trying to get information from you, because one time she's a dryad trying to find out information about you and the person that you romanced.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I refused. I was like, I don't need a dryad to tell me that I love my partner. Go away.
Oh,
but,
I did do that.
At one time, she's also a reporter trying to ask you what your plan is going to be, how you're going to save the city and
Yeah.
stuff. And
yeah.
so I like that about her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with Gortash. He just didn't really do much. Maybe
Yeah.
you see
So-
more of him if
yeah.
you decide to side with him, but there
Yeah.
weren't as many cutscenes with him. I wish we'd seen more of him. And I also wish that when you kill him, he's just dead. You do get a scene with Karlak where she's like getting very emotional. But I wish there was something similar to what happens with Cazador if you kill Cazador with Astarion. You get like this final scene of him being on, basically dying, and then Astarion stabbing him to death aggressively. I kind of hope there would be a similar scene with Karlak as well before
Did you
Gortash
not
really
get that
dies.
with Karlak?
I did not. He was just. I got a
You-
scene
you
with
might
him
have-
afterwards.
You
but...
might have killed him too quickly, because if you get, I got him down to like 3 health, and then he started begging, like saying like, not
Really?
to kill.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
so you might just need to get him really low, because
That
I
didn't
did have a
happen for
cutscene
me.
like that.
No,
Uh,
same.
I guess that happens if he's low and it's his turn, because there's a similar thing with the hag. If you kill the hag in Act 1
Yeah.
too quickly, you don't get her scene, because it only happens if it's her turn and she's low. So I guess it was...
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Maybe
Yeah.
I spoke too soon then. Maybe it is more satisfying than that, because for me it was just
Yeah,
dead.
maybe. But still, in that first experience of it, or the first playthrough, he was quite weak because of what
Yeah.
I experienced of him. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean that he's a weak villain, it's just of what I experienced of him. And compared to Keteric and Orin,
Yeah.
he just wasn't as overpowering. And I get it though, he needed to have that backseat kind of leading the city from behind the scenes. I get why he is the way he is. It's just more in term for substantiality of the villains that I experienced. It was those two as opposed to him.
I honestly think that the lower city should have been, in terms of size, maybe like a quarter of it removed, and a few of the quests placed in different areas.
Yeah.
And have like a tiny act for like the upper city, so Gortash can have his own section and not share it with Orin.
Yeah.
Then you can just see how corrupt he's made the place, and like, oh, you've defeated the Steel Watchers, but here's like Steel Watchers inhabited by demons that you can't just turn off. Here's how he's like pulled the strings and everything. Like have his own like little dedicated area, as opposed to, hi, kill Orin. Oh, hi, I'm Orin. Kill Gortash.
Yeah.
Gortash is just gonna wait on the bridge for you to go kill him at any point.
Yeah.
Speaking of a villain that was very intimidating, however, Raphael. Oh my god, that fight with Raphael is one of my favorite fights.
Singing his own goddamn theme song during the fight.
Perfect. Also, the fact that he basically fucks himself literally is fucking hilarious to me. But I loved that fight so much. There's like a gimmick to it. It's not too straightforward. You have to get rid of the pillars first.
He's more difficult than the final boss.
He was. He really was. And just if you decide to save Hope, you have to basically just run for your life, because as Hope says, oh, he's coming, and he is pissed. Okay, that's... Alright, we gotta go, guys, run. And then he arrives.
I thought that was like a timed thing. Like, if you're going to save Hope, you have a certain amount of time to get out of the House of Hope before Raphael comes back. So I wasted like most of my spell slots on like Misty Step to get people going quicker. And then it's like, okay, there is no way I took longer than like 5 or 6 rounds to get us out of here. And then it goes into a cutscene where it's like, oh, he's here. And I'm just like,
whoops.
This is going to suck.
Shit. Oh. It was so...
Thankfully, I managed to convince his little demon boy, like, hey, you should betray Raphael. And he was like, yeah, why not?
Yeah, that was great, honestly. I like that they put that in, because Jorgir, if you defeated him first in Act 2, he actually recognizes that you're a skilled fighter and that you're a worthy opponent, and then you can convince him. He's like, I'm gonna fight with this guy now.
And then, Raphael being so difficult. That's why, like, and you never have to go there. You don't have to do that at any point.
No.
Which is why I thought that would tie into your ending somehow. Like, here's a really difficult secret area you can go to. And, like, hey, as soon as you get there, Karlach's like, this is, we're back in Avernus. My chest doesn't hurt. And I don't sense Zariel, like, coming on her way or anything. It's like, safe place in Avernus. Did I unlock a secret ending?
Yeah, because it feels like it could be, especially if she's safe. And like that feels like it should be some sort of alternate ending. But...
It should have been. I also feel like there should have been more to Hope, because I liked her as a character, and the way it was built up, how you can save her and stuff. I felt like there should be more to her, even if it's just maybe her coming to help out in the final fight or something, or maybe a bit more dialogue. But
she says to visit her again later, so I went back there a few times and nothing new happens.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because I liked her so much that I wanted to see more of her.
She was the great little insane Hope of Hell.
Yeah. But to come back on the subject of the upper city, I heard that apparently some of the companion quests, like Astarion's personal quest with Cazador, and there was another one, I believe it had to do with Gortash, but I can't remember. They were supposed to take... Oh, it was Karlach, actually. It was Karlach's quest. They were supposed to take place in the upper city, but when they cut that, their quest just kind of got moved to the lower city, and their reactivity and stuff, the things that happened in the lower city never got, like, replaced or... added.
That is what it feels like. It does feel like they squished the upper city into the lower city's map, because Act 3, like, naturally should be the biggest act. It's only the biggest act because there's honestly too much in that city to do.
I agree. I agree completely. Yeah. Act 3 for me is when the game got a little tiresome, because Act 1, you're experiencing it all, you're meeting everybody, you're building those friendships, and you're starting the journey. Act 2, my favorite act, easily. It's coming together, you've got an idea of the plot. Act 3, though, you're at Baldur's Gate, so it makes sense why it should be longer, why there should be more to do, because it's the entire, the entire reason of the game. You are supposed to be getting to the city, but for me, it was a bit too much, and I kind of wanted to wrap things up a bit sooner than I did because there was so much to tie up, which I understand because it's such a big girthy game. But it for me, Act 3 is where I was starting to wanting to finish the game more and less enjoying it as much just because of the sheer amount of things to tie up and do. And I didn't get to finish up everything that I wanted to do. Like, I didn't do Astarian's quest. I got to a point where I was
Oh
like,
no,
right,
so
okay,
good.
I can finish the game now. I know, but it gives me something to do next time. But I was
yeah.
at that point where I'm like, right, okay, I can finish this now, and I'm going to finish it now. But yeah, it felt a bit clunky in Act 3 for me. I don't know what the right word is. Just it wasn't as, like,
It
I don't
needed to
know.
be spread out a bit
Yeah.
more in terms
Yeah.
of location.
I felt
Yeah, I
similar.
agree. Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
for me, the main reason
Especially
is
because nothing you do there it dictates
Yeah.
the ending.
it's that.
Yeah.
And also the reactivity between companions, it's just not there
slows
as
down.
much as the previous acts. I wish there were
Yeah.
a bit more reactions from companions, like actual like cutscenes or basically
Yeah.
more reactions while you're talking to like other NPCs during the dialogue. Basically more of what was in Act 1. I just wanted
What was in?
a
Yeah.
bit more
yeah.
of that in Act 3 because it felt a little, I don't know what the
Slowed
right
down.
word is, just
Mm.
the companions felt less alive. Let's just call it that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we needed like an Act 3 and an Act 3.5. Like the upper city, it's a lot smaller, but there's that, etc. And
Yeah.
because there's a few mechanics introduced in Act 3 that felt like there needed to be a bit more to the game for them to like show up again. Like you can stay at the Elf Song Tavern. Why?
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything besides like
Yeah.
you can pay for food right there. And it's like if we go to the upper city, maybe we can hire a much better inn, and there's like more mechanics around that. Like no quests ever come up because of it.
Yeah.
No one
Yeah.
visits or anything. There's barely
Yeah.
any point to it. There's also a few like well-known locations that are mentioned in like even in Descent into Avernus, the basically prequel to this game, the tabletop like campaign. A lot of that also takes place in the upper city, and you never get to see half of it.
Yeah.
They should have just taken like half the quests from the lower city and put them in the upper city. So at least you have like, hey, this is all of Baldur's Gate. You're getting a little bit tiresome with the sewers and the lower city. Here's a new location. It's all regal. Here's where all the pompous, corrupt assholes are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously you got like in the lower city, you've got like the Gazette, you've got the Sorcerer's Sundries, you've got all the common folk, the fishermen's. The bank being on the water felt really weird.
Yeah. Yeah, because going down towards it, I was thinking, oh, what's going to be down here? It's going to be some sort of like warehouse, some sort of like working class system thing, like building thing, factory, and it's a bank, and I'm like, okay.
Especially because like in terms of locations, as soon as the bridge lowers for Baldur's Gate, you walk across the bridge. Gortash is right there. So the first door on your right.
And that Worm Fortress, which was a bit random.
As soon as you get in, first door on your right, walk up some stairs. There's Gortash.
Yep.
Why the hell is he right here?
Yeah,
He should be in the upper city.
He should
have been in the hall where your allies eventually gather.
I guess he's
Like,
there
that should've been-
because of his
There's the
coronation.
coronation.
But
Why is the coronation happening
why is it
there?
Yeah.
all the visiting dignitaries and politicians and the people who run Baldur's Gate. Your city is under siege and you're at the wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good point.
Some other points of feedback that I agree with and I've read is the hag quest, for example. If you kill her in Act 1 or whatever you do with her and you explore her lair more, you can find letters that she wrote to her sister and that her sister wrote her back. So I was fully expecting to meet her other sisters in Baldur's Gate. I was a little disappointed that we just found her again and that we didn't get to fight all three of the hags at once.
Yeah.
I didn't find her again. Where was she?
So you had to look at the posters around the city that were saying like hags in Baldur's Gate or the hag like anti-society, and you eventually meet the girl Marina again.
Marina,
Oh, she died. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so then that's probably why you didn't meet her, because she's the one that she starts up the anti-hag society.
I think you can find her even if you don't meet the other people from the anti-hag society, because she is in what's the other the Blushing Mermaid, and she is disguised as a pirate lady.
she's disguised the pirate lady. I tried, but until you do the anti-hag society poster and go speak with Mayrina, you don't get the quest to investigate the missing girl.
Yeah.
And no matter what you do, the pirate lady is just like, "Go away, I'm hungover."
Oh, okay. Oh,
and I missed my perception downstairs to like find her lair, so I had no way to go in.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, but I feel like
So
there
I was
because I was
like,
there.
"What's going on here?"
Yeah. I feel like there was a build up there to something that didn't make it into the game. Same with
didn't-
Mole,
yeah.
because Mole gets kidnapped and then you suddenly find her again in the Thieves Guild hall in Act 3 and it's like, oh yeah, I escaped.
In the House of
Okay.
Hope, I found Mole's contract
Yeah.
and she never comments on it. And again with the Upper City of just like, the hags could have been in the Upper City.
Yeah.
And not only that,
Yeah.
like...
Yeah.
Sorry, I lost where I was going with the Upper City. Continue, I'll come back.
Apparently it is possible to bring the contract to her and have her comment on it. I had someone tell me that. They took the contract and apparently Mole tells you about how she escaped, how she did it and stuff. So apparently it's possible. I haven't tried this myself though, so I'd have to test it, but apparently it is possible. But it was just, from my experience, it was weird to suddenly see her again, because I thought we were gonna have to save her or something, or there was something more to her either making the deal with Raphael or not making the deal.
Sorry, I remember what I was going to say.
Alright.
Again, with like the Upper City and having like a 3.5, we did not get enough time with Minsk.
No, I agree.
We didn't. I agree
really
completely.
Yeah.
I agree completely. I literally recruited him, and then 3 missions later completed the game, and it's like, oh, I thought we were going to get him in Act 2 genuinely.
Yeah.
And I get why, obviously, he's in Baldur's Gate, you know, why he was there, but like, it would have made more sense to have all the companions by Act 2. So then you're going into Act 3, so at least have that more content to be able to interact with him. But I spoke to him once and completed the game.
I reckon he should have been with Jaheira and the Harpers, and they should have had their own side quest of trying to track down, what's her name, Valeria, the Shah priestess, the one that's mother to Shadowheart.
Yeah,
they should have had a quest to find, because she's in the other games, so they know of her. They should have had a quest after saving Last Light In, obviously, of tracking her down because they've heard she's doing some evil stuff or whatever, and that ties them in with Shadowheart and therefore binds them to your like character's personal journey with Shadowheart and all that. Yeah. And then you have a lot more time to get with Minsk and Boo and all that.
Yeah.
Because for me as a Dark Urge, Minsk had a lot of dialogue, and especially with like me being with Karlak as well, you can say that like Karlak respects him, and Minsk is like, oh, she's great. Tell her she's great. And I remember having a good dialogue with him of being the Dark Urge, and he's like, Minsk, I'm worried. I'm a Bowl spawn. They've all done evil. Like, you've fought them. Like, how do I know I'm good? And he's just like, Minsk is not eating your face off, and Minsk hates Bowl spawn, so you're good. And I'm just like, yeah, that's great. And then like finish the game like right after that. It's like,
yeah,
man,
that's it.
I wish I had more time with him. That was
like,
same.
Matthew Mercer did amazing as Minsk.
He really did. I
so
love
maybe there
Minsk.
was supposed to be a 3.5 act, or maybe there was supposed to be a bit more towards the end, and it kind of all just kind of got not rushed, but put to some sort of conclusive point where it's like, actually, no, we're going to wrap up here instead of having the game keep on for a little bit longer or having that upper section. Because it does feel like that with getting Minsk, literally.
Yeah, I know
a
they
mission
don't want
before,
to do...
and then having like Orin and Gortash kind of having just, all right, you can kill her or kill me. Either way, betray one of us and get that done. It did feel a bit like, oh, okay.
I know they don't want to do any expansions, but if they're going to do like similar to Divinity 2, like the Definitive Edition, like adding like 3.5 or just adding the Upper City as like a separate thing.
So I think what they did for Divinity Original Sin 2, I think they completely revamped the last act, or like the last
last act was
I think
terrible.
Yeah, I don't remember when I bought it, but I played it like way after the Definitive Edition had been released, so I had no clue what it was like before.
Me too.
Baldur's Gate feels ripe for that, along with adding in the ending slides. Like if they did that, like cut the Lower City in half, take half the quests that make sense for the Upper City and put them there as well. Have Mole somehow make her way there because of Raphael's deal, and you can confront her there about it, whatever. Maybe even move Sorceress Sundries up there. I don't know the proper layout of Baldur's Gate, wherever it is. But do that 3.5, have a change of scenery, and Gortash can have more of a presence in his political machinations and stuff, and put in the ending slides. Baldur's Gate would be close to perfect.
Yeah, I
And
think
they've also mentioned a scene that after the Withers epilogue scene, there's apparently supposed to be like a 6-month gap
yeah,
where
I
you and your
heard that too.
companions all meet up together
Yeah.
again, and you have like
Is there?
similar.
Mhm.
It's supposed to be that, and similar to being in camp, you can move around and talk to everyone, and it's supposed to be your chance for like you can talk to them and see what they've been doing for 6 months, or if it's like with your
Yeah.
romance, you can like they'll be like, how have you enjoyed the past half year, and your response dictates what you've been doing, and then the slides also go off of what you say in that last few moments along
Yeah,
with your quests, and that's why there was so much like 15 minutes because Astarion started burning, and after 6 months he can be like, so how have you been? And you can just be like, oh, maybe you did the blood quest with that chick in Act 2, and then met her again in Baldur's Gate 3, and even though he didn't like it, you gave her his blood. And then in the epilogue, you can say she found a cure for you being in the sun, and he can that can change his ending, or
Yeah.
just
yeah,
something like that.
yeah. Because if you don't romance Astarion, he runs off, and you know nothing about
it.
what's he
That's
gonna
it.
do.
That's literally it.
So
I'm like,
yeah.
okay, I guess he's dead. That was my
Is he
response.
dead?
Before the Karlak thing, it was basically, hey, do you want your lover to die or run off with another half demon dude and be stuck in hell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just right now we're missing that bit of closure, I think.
That's it, the tiniest
Yeah.
bits. And I got that for Shadowheart, and that was fine for me because I love that and want that for my hero. But say I'm doing Dark Urge in my next playthrough, and I want more of a conclusive ending to what happened with certain key plot points.
Mhm.
You know, you're gonna want that final ending slides that we get.
Yeah.
But to be fair, like that kind of happened with Dragon Age Inquisition before Trespasser. Does Trespasser?
know.
Mm,
I
Well,
have no
Inquisition
clue.
at least lets you like go and talk to everyone at the final celebration.
There should have been
Yeah.
something
Before
similar.
Trespasser.
Did you have the ending slides before Trespasser, or was that
They-
post Trespasser? I can't remember.
I think there were some slides, but they weren't as like in
They
depth
weren't
as
as the
definitive.
Trespasser.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
it was just like general ending, and then
Yeah.
like
But even just having those sliders similar to Trespasser or Inquisition
Yeah.
in Baldur's Gate, it's going to be the right amount of closure. Astarion ran away and got to Shade, and he is now okay. He's doing but he's not dead. Karlak is a pile of ashes. Whatever.
Yeah.
You know, having just a little bit of that would be brilliant. But overall, like for me, it was okay because I got what I wanted in that specific experience. But I know for future playthroughs, I want more closure, because otherwise, what's the point? If saving the Grove or killing the Grove didn't really matter in the end, what's the point? So it's just that little tiny bit of closure just to make it feel more of a holistic, fulfilling experience at
Yeah.
the end of it all.
like if you didn't learn about the Shadow Druids, there should be an
Which
ending
I
slide about how they
didn't-
took
which I
over
didn't.
because you
Yeah,
never
I
found
didn't.
them.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
Right now, the game feels like the end of Dragon Age 2. Like, no matter what you did, after you take out Meredith, your people all piss off into the wind,
Yeah.
except for you and your romance.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
at the end of Dragon Age Origins, you get all those slides, and there's
All
a lot
the
more
slides.
closure.
Yeah.
That's where we need to get to.
Just for the ending, just add a similar scene that we get in Dragon Age Origins with the coronation, or in Inquisition, the party in Skyhold.
give
and
us 15
ending
minute
slide.
slides.
Give us ending slides. Give us another opportunity to talk to our companions before the game truly ends, and I think then the ending is pretty much perfect.
They've done brilliant. Yeah. Because like right now, it just feels like it's all about the journey, not the destination, and that's great. Because in the moment of playing that game, it's so brilliant. But as an RPG, and it being so conclusive, so wide, and as BG3 is, with so many different narratives and choices and consequences, we just need those final conclusions at the end, just to solidify it all and go, right, I forgot what happened to the Grove, you know, in my 70-hour playthrough, 8-hour playthrough. You know, having that conclusive top it off, to be like, oh, I forgot. Oh yeah, great. Zevlov's still alive, and he saved me at the end. He's there, and the Tieflings are now living in Baldur's Gate happily because my character helped save them. And this is what happened to that one gnome that I saved off that windmill. Whatever. Not as that in depth, but still having a few of those just tiny little things that happened.
Yeah, the general state of the world.
Barkus Word
basically.
eventually becoming the leader of the Iron Hand gnomes, like.
Yeah. tiny things that you did, and then the big massive things in like a 15-minute slider thing done. Brilliant. So, touching on like some of our favorite moments and interactions of the game, what was it for you? I want to go first just because I've got mine in my head, so
Go ahead.
I don't really cry much in video games. I don't really cry much in movies. I kind of do more now so than I used to as a teen. But Baldur's Gate 3, genuinely, there was a moment after the Shadowheart romance. Or, sorry, it's during it when her parents are taken by Shah and she has to end their lives in order for her to be free and go back to Saloon. And there was a moment after that where I genuinely was tearing up for Shadowheart's dialogue, and it's just because it hit me so much, but equally because the dialogue is so well written. Shadowheart for me is one of my favorite characters, if not in RPGs, but in just the video games as a whole. Just because she's such a brilliantly well written character. But there's a moment where she's talking about what is she gonna do in life for her parents. She doesn't have anybody to talk to in terms of paternal guidance. She has nowhere to go now. And I was genuinely tearing up. And not that I can relate to things like that, but because it was so deeply impactful and because we'd been there through it and we'd helped her make those decisions, that I was like, oh my goodness, like this is such a heartbreaking, sad moment that it had me, although it's sad, it had me just genuinely deeply impacted and I loved it. But then allowing my character to lean in there and be able to support her emotionally, it was brilliant and just tragic. I loved it, and it was one of my favorite interactions of the game, just because I don't really, I'm playing Starfield now. That isn't giving me any emotional kind of investment whatsoever. The characters are great.
We don't need to talk about our problems with Starfield again.
we don't, but I'm not emotionally invested. But because I've been so in-depthly invested in this narrative and with Shadowheart, that moment, it was peak. It was brilliant. So yeah, what about you guys? What about favorite interactions moments?
First of all, I want to react to what you're saying. I think I know the exact line you're talking about because I had the exact same reaction.
Yeah.
I was almost, I had tears in my eyes. I was almost crying.
Yes.
It's the line where your character can say, oh, they're not really gone. They're still with you. Think about the moon or glowy orby thingies. And she's like, yeah, but I can't talk to them. I can't get advice from them. They can't tell me what I was like as a little girl. And I was like, oh my god.
Literally.
That line was just so fucking real. And
it hits.
If you've lost somebody, like in real life, if somebody passed away close to you, you know what that feels like.
That's it. That's what I'm.
So
absolutely.
Good. Yeah.
That's what it hits on. It's that feeling of, like, I can't relate to the whole parental thing, but having lost somebody and them not being there anymore, and it's those questions that you hit afterwards, after they're gone. It's like, well, I can't do that anymore. I can't ask them that. I can't have any of those conversations anymore. And that's exactly what she hits on. Yeah. It hit me. It hit me so hard.
Yeah, same.
And I'm thinking about other games now, and I'm like, nothing recently has made me feel like that. And that's why it's one of my core moments of this game, because I'm like, this game has me emotionally invested in every single way, from the happy, joyous moments of like, haha, this is so fun to play, this is hilarious, to then the sad, deep-rooted, tragic moments of loss. Yeah, it can relate to it in so many different ways. It's brilliant.
Exactly.
It also makes so much sense since she kind of had her life taken over by the Lady of Loss, that she has to experience it just to get rid of her.
Oh, don't. Dude. Dude.
Lambo, do you want to go next with your answer? What's your favorite moment or interaction?
I think I've already touched on my favorite interaction. Is just obviously romancing Karlach, being the dark urge and like resisting it, and having been open with my party about, like, because you can talk to all of them like, I have these urges, I want to murder people, I dream about attacking. When I killed Althira, I didn't hide her, I didn't like wash the blood off, I waited for everyone to wake up and admitted to what I did. And everyone disapproved. And because I did all that, when I tried to kill Karlach, and she completely understood, like, this isn't you, you don't want to hurt me, I understand. Obviously punches me in the face and ties me up, and as I'm trying to rip her throat out with my teeth, she's there just like rubbing my shoulder like, I know it's not you, you can beat this, I'll be here, like, you're trying to help me deal with my burning engine, I'm gonna be here whilst you're trying to murder me when it's not actually you. Like, I understand, and I'll be here till you're back to yourself again. Like, that was one of my favorite moments with Karlach, of just because of my decisions and being open, she understood and
Yeah.
wasn't afraid when I was trying to kill her, which she would have been justified in. But
Yeah.
just like all my decisions actually having an effect on that was very well played out, and I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, I feel
I
like...
want to add on to that
Oh,
because that's
sure.
something that I loved about this game, because I always felt like sometimes you all generally when I'm playing Bioware games, I always hate disapproving people and I always go for the actions that I feel they would like the most. But what I love about Baldur's Gate is I have done actions in this game that I know they're not going to agree with, but it's for the betterment of that character. For example, with Lizelle in end of Act 1, I think, when you're going to the Gift Camp, the Gift Crash, sorry, and you don't do what they want. She really wants you to follow along that quest line and do the things. And I went, no, we're not going to do that, and we're not going to bow to Vlakath. And she disapproved at the time, but it ended up being the better outcome for her in the moment. Later on after the moment. And I like that because you often would go with, well, yeah, I'm going to do it because they want me to do it. They want this approval. They want this so bad. And the same with Shadowheart. She wanted to be, a dark priestess of Shah, or she wanted to be the disciple, whatever the term was. And I'm
Dark
like, no,
Justicia.
Jack Justicia. And I'm like, no, you know
Yeah.
what? Actually, we're going to keep Dame alive. We're going to actually not do what you want to do. And she disapproved it in the moment, but it ended up being the better thing for her because it's actually thinking about it in the long run. And I love that about BG3 as well. Is actually just because you think that in some sort of binary situation you've got two options, it's going to be really good for that character. No, the reality is in the moment, while they may disapprove, it's the better thing for them. And it shows that by going with your gut and by trusting your own choices, it sometimes actually does work out for the better and helps that character on a further character arc. It's not always just, yes, follow that character arc through, and yes, get approval, and yes, that's it. You're romancing them, and they're doing a better journey, like you would in a Bioware game. It's actually nuanced and has a lot of moral complexity to it, and I love that.
It really is.
Honestly-
And Larian have even said it themselves. If you're in a romance with a character, it's not always a good idea to always go along with what they want.
Literally.
And
I mean,
Literally.
Yeah.
almost everyone's quest basically ends with, "Hey, I love you. Don't do that."
Yeah.
Please."
Yes. They've all got their own flaws, and that's great, but you don't have to agree with all of them, because obviously they're flaws for a reason, and that's fundamentally one of the things that I love, because it's like, yeah, you love this character for who they are, but also you don't condone their bad behavior. Oh, you can. You can,
You
and that's the
definitely
thing
can,
that I love
yeah.
about this
I
game.
agree.
You can as well if you want to.
I do not condone Karlak wanting to die.
No.
Oh, you go. But like, but if you're doing the moral, like the objectively good things, or you're trying to think out for that character in the best possible way, depending on your playthrough, it does subject that character so differently, and you can have so many different character arcs, and it's brilliant. But
Yeah.
as Lisa was saying, like, just agreeing with them constantly is going to end badly, or it's going to end in a more like boring kind of point blank playthrough of, right, you've done what Shadowheart wants you to do, but has your character gained from that? Has your character grown in that relationship? Has Shadowheart grown? Or and it's just dependent on so many variables and so many morality. I love it. Like it's so deep. It
Yeah.
really is.
I also like that at certain points you can let them make their own decisions, which wasn't the case for Will and breaking the pact.
Yeah.
Which was kind of unfortunate, but you can let him decide whether he wants to become Duke or not. I think you can let Shadowheart decide if she wants to kill the Night Song and go through with becoming a Dark Justiciar. But I think what we just talked about is also very true for Astarion, because he constantly wants power and he wants to ascend, take the ritual for himself. And I kept pushing back against that. And one of my favorite moments is when you've defeated Cazador, there's a moment where Astarion is like, I can kill you now, end it all, or I can take the ritual and take all the power for myself, and I won't have to fear anyone ever again. And there's an insight check that you can make if you're in a romance with him. I don't know if it's there as if you're friends with him, but the insight check for when you're in a romance with him is, you look into your lover's eyes and see and try to determine what's going through his head right now. It's a pretty difficult I think it's a 20 that you have to roll. So it can be kind of difficult. And if you succeed the insight check, you actually notice that he is a bit uncertain and he is scared, but especially all the blood and the potential power that he could take is intoxicating him. after that, I don't know if it's because you're in a romance with him or because you succeeded the insight check, you can actually roll with advantage for the persuasion check to not let him ascend. So
Yeah.
that was interesting, and that it's also afterwards he thanks you for stopping him because he admits he wasn't himself at that time. The character development that he goes
Character
through
arc, the
is
development,
it's so
yeah.
good, and that counts for all the companions, to be honest, but especially for
It does.
for me because I romanced him. That was very very visible with Astarion.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's going to these characters starting out to like them being their own origin versions, to then developing into something that you would not have expected, especially for Astarion, for him to go from that kind of not extreme, going from who he is at the start of the game to that. It's so great. Like, it's great that those characters can go on such nuanced development journeys. Like, it's brilliant.
Yeah, he changes a lot. The few cutscenes that you get with him after you kill Cazador and don't let him ascend, they're so cute and they're just so genuine. I've also seen scenes where he is ascended. Those are quite different.
Oh yeah.
Those are. They gave me a very creepy vibe. They creeped me out a little bit because his ego, if he's ascended, is through the fucking roof. So basically 10 times worse as he is in the start of the game. You can let yourself become a spawn. So basically you become his spawn. And I've seen a scene apparently there's an insight check that you can make, and if you succeed the insight check and you let yourself become his spawn, he thinks less of you. Basically, he is now in control of you. And it's also funny, if you're his spawn and you want to break up with him, he just doesn't let you. He's like, no, no, we'll be together forever now. So that, I didn't like that. Kind of creeped me out, that version of him.
Goodness,
but I like that it's an option.
Yeah.
I do love how memorable like all the romances and interactions and quests are with the companions. But like, not even just the companions, like a lot of character, like all you had to do during early access, you just had to look at Alfira to see how many people loved a one-off like interaction with characters. Like everyone wanted her to be the next bard companion.
Yeah.
And people playing as a Dark Urge had hope for a few moments. That was all good. Because there's so many one-off characters that are so good. Like
I have
one of my favorite single interactions in the entire game, and I know you know what's coming. Getting to Act 3, going into the circus and finding a grave-robbing little kobold eating the hand of a dead clown named Popper. He is my favorite NPC in the entire goddamn game. You meet him for like 5 minutes, he holds a dagger when you try to sell things to him, and he's eating the hand of a dead clown. I love that man.
He is great. I also have a funny story regarding killing Alfira as a Dark Urge. So a few days ago, I was playing multiplayer with my brother and some of our friends, and all of us except my brother knew what was going to happen because one of our friends played as a Dark Urge. All of us knew what was going to happen except for my brother. And when Alfira joined the camp, he was like, "Oh my god, she can join? Oh my god." And he was so happy and so excited for a moment, and we were all like, yeah? Yeah? Don't worry about it. And he was like, "Oh, well, why are you guys reacting like that?" We were like, "Don't worry about it. It's fine." And then we got the scene where the Dark Urge had killed Alfira. He was like, "What?" His soul was crushed in that moment.
Oh, no.
Oh, it was great, though. As for to wrap this question up, for some of my other favorite moments, I'll keep this short, but the one I already talked about is Raphael when you first meet him after you broke into the House of Hope and he is pissed off at you, and just the whole fight.
I wanted to murder Raphael the whole goddamn game.
And my other favorite moment is at the end of Act 2 when you confront Catherick. And first of all, the whole cutscene that you get with Orin and Gortash for the first time. And Catherick just being so intimidating, but also feeling a bit sympathetic towards him. And you can actually talk him or persuade him to kill himself. You can convince him that what he's doing is like, it's not helping, it's not worth it. And when he just drops himself into the pit behind him. And then you fight the thing of Merkel. It's Merkel, right?
Yeah. See, that's actually incorrect. You don't fight the Bane of Merkel. Because I felt very sympathetic towards Ketherick Thorm all the way up until he fell into that pit and when he came back out, he was fucking High Lord Wolnir from Dark Souls 3.
I have not played that game, so I don't know who that is.
Never
But...
have I.
I've just put it in the chat. I've just put it in the chat.
That's pretty similar.
I was
I
very sympathetic till he came out as a Dark Souls boss and murdered my party.
Okay.
I actually think the boss fights with Orin, Gortash, and Ketheric were some of the easiest fights in the game. At least for I
Yeah, they were.
almost
They
no trouble
weren't.
with them.
They were not
Ketheric
that.
looked
Yeah.
amazing, but the fact that he couldn't move kind of made him a bit underwhelming. Orin in her transformed state was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
And Gortash
Gortash just got
basically...
bigger. He just got bigger, didn't he?
Gortash basically just presses
Yeah,
a button on his wrist and just activates a bunch of sentry turrets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, they were good. I enjoyed them because they all had a special like mechanic to it. But they were very easy compared to some of the other fights, and maybe that's just my fault because I was not too great at pre-planning, and I spent like an hour on the near battle in Grimforge. But let's not talk about that. So I was kind of surprised. I was totally expecting like a very tough battle with each of these bosses, and I was always a bit surprised about how easy it was for me. But that's just my experience.
Orin's is very difficult if you're playing as the Dark Urge, because when you go to get your companion back, she essentially like all the cult are like split between you and her. So she challenges you to a 1v1 essentially with your companion, and she's like, if any of your companions step inside this ring, everyone here will fight everyone. Like it won't just be me and you. And I got like one round into combat, and I'm like, you just took half my health. Get in here!
Oh yeah, okay. So you did end up fighting everyone.
Oh, I had to murder everyone. Murder everyone.
Yeah.
She was gonna murder me.
Yeah.
That was probably the moment I fucked up, was trying to like 1v1 Orin as a cleric.
Moments I've frigged up.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Speaking of which, what are some of the moments you fucked up? I already talked about mine with the last night in, but what about you guys?
Because I was playing as a good guy and like the redeemed Dark Urge. That's probably the only moment I did fuck up, was trying to 1v1 Orin. Like I didn't really have any other. Actually,
I'm thinking now.
I accidentally found Minsk.
Oh right,
like,
you told me about.
Yeah,
that.
when you get to Act 3, like Jaheira's like, we should find like the Thieves Guild, and they can tell us where Minsk is. And I just went to the bank, like, because I was exploring, and they were just like, hi, someone's broken in. And I'm like, can I see them? And they let me downstairs, and then Minsk is there. I'm like, oh, hey Jaheira, we found him. And then you have to find him again in the sewers. So I left that way too late. Another one of my favorite interactions was if you have Jaheira with you, and he has the changeling Jaheira, he's just like, Jaheira, you never told me you had ugly sister.
I fucking love Minsk, man.
Yeah.
I also like that you can ask him about the other companions. The Astarion one is funny because he's like, oh, I was cleaning up my wounds and I was bleeding a lot, and then Astarion entered the room and he was all like dizzy, and he was I think he wasn't feeling very well. He's such a weak man. He shouldn't be fighting with us. And like, Minsk, he's a vampire, right? Oh, well, that explains a lot of things.
I've already said the moment that I frigged up, and that was accidentally killing Gale during the Orin boss fight. But it was a big... I honestly thought he was going to blow up, but apparently that doesn't happen when he dies. Does he have to activate it? I don't know.
He does. He can activate it, but I think if he dies, he just waits till the magic drains out.
Because that didn't... I honestly was expecting him to die, and then for a failed save to be like, right, he's blown up and we've all died, but he didn't blow up. And I was like, oh, well.
I expect they did that just so if you didn't want Gale in your party or in your camp or anything, you didn't just lose the game. Like, it wasn't essential.
Yeah. But so fortunately, he didn't blow up, but he did die, and it was all my fault because of insect plague.
Which companion should have had more content? Halsin.
Yeah, Halsin.
He really feels like everyone memeing on him during early access, Daddy Halsin, let me romance Halsin, let me like play with Halsin in my party. It really feels like they caved and added him in, but didn't give him like any extra content. Like, you can't take him to Moonrise because he didn't have the tadpole, and they would have found out. And in
Yeah.
Act 3, he has no quests at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
in Act 2, obviously he has Thaniel, but you have to do that quest
Yeah,
just to
I
get him in your
didn't-
party. To get
yeah, I
him in
didn't
the
do that.
party. But then
Yeah.
once he's in the party, he doesn't have any quest for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
He can be taken by Orin, but like there's no point to take him because everyone else has something to do in the city, whereas Halsin's just, I'm with you, and if you want, the bear's ready.
Yeah, no, it's he's pretty boring in Act 3.
Minsk and Jaheira also, because you get him a bit late, but Halsin like doesn't even have any extra content once you have him.
Yeah.
How about
I
you
agree.
guys? Which companion do you think should have had a bit more, if not Halsin?
If not House, I'm gonna have to think about that for a bit. I probably Minsk, I guess, because you get him so late. We already talked
Yeah.
about that, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I would have liked a bit more from Jaheira, but she did get a quest in Baldur's Gate, so I can't complain about that.
Especially
but
since you can find her family as well.
Yeah, I missed that.
Yeah. So there is a bit with her, but I wanted a little bit. I mean, I wanted a romance with Jaheira. I know why that couldn't have happened. I know, but that does not make me want it less.
I mean,
She's
that didn't stop
basically your
her from having a
grandmother.
bunch of romances since Baldur's Gate
Exactly.
2 and having a bunch of kids.
So I would have liked, I would like to play like an older character role, like a playthrough, and
Yeah.
have her as a romance option.
You could do it.
I know it'll happen with mods, but still,
I mean,
I
I
wish
was gonna say, like,
that
just-
was a thing.
It's like, oh, she's a bit too old, but you can play as an elf, and elves live for centuries.
Yeah,
literally,
true.
literally,
Yeah.
like
And
But
they
also
have
this
the
isn't
wrinkle
dr-
option.
this isn't Dragon Age though, where your character is a set age. Like, you know, the Inquisitors, in their early 30s. Like, this is Baldur's Gate, where you can play whatever you want. So
Yeah,
I would have liked
doesn't
more
matter.
older. To be fair, that's another something. That's something that I want in general. Would be more romances with older, mixed ages. Because who cares if they're 50 to 75 to
I mean,
whatever, you know.
just as an example, the small amount of lore I know, Popper will live for, kobolds in general, they will live for 12 years and then die.
Oh.
Popper is like,
Oh,
Popper
no.
is at least middle-aged.
Oh no.
He's like 8 years old and 1 foot in the grave. Kobolds do not live for a long time. Well, that might just be their life expectancy. I can't remember. I don't know. I gotta look it up now. I'm too curious. Oh, okay. So they reach adulthood at 6. Their life expectancy is 12 years because they get murdered so often. But they could live for
Yeah.
120 years. I take it back.
Oh.
Kobolds could absolutely romance Jaheira. Popper could be 70 years old. That was my bad. They're just not expected to live past 12 because they're stupid. Also, Larian, if you're going to make extra DLC and add classes and races, let me play as a fucking kobold.
Speaking of that.
I want a Dark Urge kobold to be behind
Oh my
everything.
god.
A kobold plunged the world into chaos.
Yeah, speaking of that, your next question.
Yeah, which race would you add as a player? Yeah, kobold.
Asima, maybe? Is it Asima?
Asimar,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they've already got Dame Aelin and to an extent Marcus. Like they've got the wings
So-
and stuff.
Exactly. I know it'd be God. Like it would be like God playthrough OP. Yeah. Why not?
No, it wouldn't. Asimars aren't really like Asimars get their winged powers, but they're not that much better than like.
But
elves
it's
or
doable.
humans.
It's doable. So yeah, Asima
Yeah.
would be fun.
It's just another like racial feature. Like elves obviously can't be charmed. They don't have to sleep. They have dark vision. Asimar get an
Yeah.
ability where they can fly, do radiant damage, or like fear nearby enemies. It's not
Brilliant.
that strong, but it's
Yeah.
more roleplay. And like they've
Yeah.
got the assets there. They've got the assets for kobolds. I'm surprised goblins are not a playable race with how many like you run into
Yeah.
with the
Goblin
assets.
features there are. Yeah.
True.
What about you, Lisa?
I want to say Aarakocra because that'd be funny.
Yeah.
Bird.
But Tabaxi maybe that could work.
Ooh.
I
thought I saw a Tabaxi at one point, but it just turned out to be a very I think it was just a very hairy elf with like the afro and like a weird like fur outfit. But for a second I thought there was a Tabaxi in the lower city.
Yeah, other than that, I'm not sure. Lizard folk could be cool, although you can sort of make something that looks like lizard folk if you go Dragonborn.
Yeah, but lizard
Yeah.
folk also make weapons from the bones of their enemies,
That
so
is
Dark Urge
true.
would work perfectly for lizard
That
lizard
is
folk.
true. Yeah.
Oh, memes aside, like I do want kobold. The turtle race.
Yes.
What's that?
Yeah.
It is a giant turtle that can
Yeah.
hide in their shell.
Oh.
Yeah.
They don't need to wear armor. They naturally just get 17 AC, and as an action, they can hide in their shell.
Oh. Yes.
You would literally be able to make a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle if you went Shadow Monk. If you could choose one NPC who would become a new playable origin character, or just someone you would want in your camp as a camp companion,
Alfira.
who would it be?
Alfira.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to say Popper for the memes. I would still I would still love him if he was a camp companion. Honestly, Isabel.
I was gonna say Isabel.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough.
Same.
Yeah.
She really felt like
She'd
she
be
was going to be a
powerful.
new companion.
Yeah, she's introduced, and being Keteric's daughter as well, she has a tie to the narrative a bit more.
And
So
in Act
then-
3, her and Dame Aelin are like, we have to go find a Selûne temple. We'll be back, and then they just never return.
Yeah,
Dame Aelin has her whole side plot in Sorcerer's Sundries where it looks like she's losing the power of
Yeah.
Selûne.
yeah.
Or like becoming, or like going against her odes or whatever, and then that just never comes up. Like, Dame Aelin as an origin character would have been interesting. Like, maybe you were Ketheric's power, but the Nord, like, being right above the Elder Brain, maybe a Nautiloid accidentally like pulled her in or something, or the Githyanki got to her or something.
Yeah, but I mean, her thing is that she's basically stuck somewhere for half
Yeah.
the game before you free her.
Isabel is Isabel would be my proper one.
Isabella, same for me.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
for me.
It would raise the question of, oh god, the last light in is all dead.
Yeah.
Or maybe they could just replace that with an artifact of Selûne or something, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could probably make it work.
Because she would also have an interesting romance if she like wasn't still with Dame Aelin.
Yeah.
Yeah, her romancing Shadowheart would be interesting. But I mean, I guess you can already do that with a custom character too. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Jack's gonna do next.
Speaking of which,
I am.
when you meet Isabel and you have Shadowheart with you, and Isabel casts like the
Ah,
Luna
Shadowheart
spell,
hates her.
Shadowheart is like,
Yeah.
ugh, this shit
Yeah.
is disgusting.
She is.
Her facial expression is perfect. I loved it so much.
I love her. I love
Yeah.
her.
Besides Isabel, Sazar.
That's a good
Oh,
one.
the
Zaza.
goblin, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one, yeah.
For like, if you do a quest and stuff, and she gets you in the Goblin camp, and you save her from Minthara, she could be a little like a rogue companion. Like, it would be good because like, obviously, if you side with the goblins and kill the tieflings, you lose Will and Karlach in return for just Minthara. It would have been good to get
We're
Minthara
doing it.
and
We're doing
Sazar.
it.
That's
We're
a good
doing
point.
it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're doing it in the Chaos Group. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
So like, get Sazar, or like, trying to think of anyone else from the Goblin camp that wasn't like Mistress Glut or Dor Agslin, I think his name was.
Priestess Gut. Glut is the guy in the Underdark.
Yeah. Myconid would also be another fun race to play as. Although I don't know if they can be.
Yeah.
I don't know if they could be infected by Mind Flayer tadpoles.
I don't know. I'm not sure if that would
would be-
work.
I'm gonna look that up. I'm curious now.
How do they even have brains?
Well, they're made from dead people. Everything I find is just about Baldur's Gate, so I don't think anyone else
Of
has figured
course.
this out.
Of course, yeah.
Barkus Root would have actually been another like cool origin. Like, he has a quest right there.
That's true. I know he can join your camp, but for some reason he never showed up for me, and I saved him from the windmill and Grimforge, but he just never showed up for me. So I don't know what went wrong there.
After saving him from the Goblin camp,
never showed up for me either.
Volo never showed up in my camp. I didn't
Oh.
have him the entire game. And then when I got to Baldur's Gate and he was being set on fire by the protesters, he was like, "Oh, my friend," and I'm like, "Who are you?" I saved you from goblins one time, and you didn't even take my eye out.
So is there anything else you guys want to say about Baldur's Gate 3? Any final thoughts before we end this?
If anyone is on the fence, get it.
Shut a hat, shut a hat, shut a hat.
Karlach, Popper. Fire resistance is bullshit.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I agree. If you're on the fence, I really recommend it. Larian have done an amazing job at making this game. I love it. It's not perfect, it's got bugs, but other than that, the characters are phenomenal. The voice acting, we didn't really even talk about that, but the voice acting is just, it's
beautiful.
so good. Yeah.
The narrator is also excellent.
The narrator. She really is.
I know she's the voice of Sabine in Divinity 2. I need to get her name.
No,
Is she Sabine?
no.
No, she's Sabine.
Yeah.
She's not Sabine.
No, she's not
Sabine's,
Sabine.
Sabine's,
the female inquisitor.
What's she
she
called?
is Malady.
Amelia Tyler.
She's Malady.
Alex Wilton Regan.
Yeah,
Ah,
she is
Malady, that's right.
Malady. Yeah.
Yeah, Amelia Tyler.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, with that, I think we should probably wrap it up here since after we record this, for people that listen to it, we're supposed to stream
Chaos Crew.
in like half an hour.
Chaos
actually.
Crew. Chaos Crew.
Chaos
I
Crew.
have no idea when Lisa's video is coming out, but knowing
our first one should be
not
live.
not Chaos. I wasn't going to go about the Chaos Crew. I was just going to
This
say,
one, or
knowing my schedule, my procrastination and availability, I might have a video out by the time or soon of basically everything we just talked about in my own Baldur's Gate video with a lot more memes.
exciting. Exciting. What about you,
And
Jack?
a whole like 5 minutes popper.
Fair enough.
We will have had one Baldur's Gate 3 Chaos stream by the time this goes up, so please check that out. If you want to see us fully taking, the world of Faerun by storm with our crew of chaotic, tadpole-inflicted bandits, it's going to be good fun. Other than that, working on Dragon Age videos at the moment. Don't have anything Baldur's Gate-wise I'll be talking about for a bit, but yeah, I'll have a few things out, hopefully.
Awesome. For me, I'm currently working on a Baldur's Gate 3 videos. Basically, it's not really a proper review, because, funny story, when I was writing the script, I had not finished the game, and I finished the game, like, right before I was going to record that video, so it was very hard for me not to talk about all of whatever we just discussed. But it's a completely spoiler-free video, and it's just my initial thoughts about the game and stuff, so that'll hopefully be out. And apart from that, I'm gonna be working on this. It's gonna take a while to edit. And after that, I don't know. I'll have to wait and see. But
We will see.
yeah, I think that's it for us right now. Guys, thank you so much for joining me and having this chat about Baldur's Gate 3. And for everyone that's watching, go check out Jackdaw and Lambo, because they both got awesome content in the works. And thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you on the next video. Bye!
Bye!
Bye.